Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine a world where legends aren't just told, but witnessed. Creatures seen only for brief seconds. Stories so ancient they cross civilizations. And above all, descriptions that repeat themselves again and again. Welcome to the 11th episode of this series dedicated to mythical creatures. If you're new here, you haven't seen anything yet. And if you've been with us since the beginning, you already know that every episode raises more questions than answers. Today, 7 new creatures, 7 symbols, 7 presences that blur the line between imagination and reality. And as you watch, ask yourself one simple question. If these creatures were purely invented, why do they keep coming back? Creature number 1, the Sphinx. Imagine a sky glowing red, flames slowly rising, and at the heart of the fire, a winged silhouette. The Sphinx is one of the most universal creatures in human history. Ancient Egypt, Greece, China, always the same idea. A bird that dies, only to be reborn from its ashes. But here's what's intriguing. The Sphinx is never described as a simple animal. It's a cycle, an entity tied to time, destruction, and renewal. Some historians speak of misunderstood natural phenomena. Others point to symbolic rituals. But then ask yourself, why did so many cultures feel the need to give this concept a living form? And why does this creature always reappear after periods of chaos? And more importantly, have you noticed that in several previous episodes, fire is already linked to conscious entities? Creature number 2, Baku. Now imagine a silent night. You're asleep, but your mind is trapped inside a nightmare. In Japanese culture, a creature is said to appear at that exact moment, the Baku, a strange being, part elephant, part lion, part tiger, that feeds on dreams, not flesh, not blood, fear. Japanese children used to call on the Baku after a bad dream, hoping it would devour it. But ask yourself this, why have so many cultures created entities connected to sleep and the unconscious? What if these creatures weren't meant to terrify, but to explain something invisible? If you've watched the previous episodes, you know the boundary between the mind and reality appears again and again, and we're not done yet. Creature number 3, Chupacabra. Now picture an isolated farm. Early morning, something feels wrong. Animals are dead, no signs of struggle, just drained of blood. The Chupacabra appears in Latin America in the 1990s, described as a bipedal creature with glowing eyes and scaly skin. Hundreds of eyewitness reports, entire regions affected, always the same pattern. Skeptics point to diseased coyotes. But then, why do some descriptions suggest predatory intelligence? Why do the attacks suddenly stop, only to resume somewhere else? If you remember the land-based creatures discussed in previous episodes, a pattern is starting to emerge. Creature number 4, the Basilisk. Imagine locking eyes with something and knowing it's over. The basilisk is described as a serpent or reptile capable of killing with a single glance. A symbol so powerful it spans the Middle Ages, antiquity, and even alchemy. Behind the myth, some researchers point to real animals, venomous snakes, deadly toxins, a gaze interpreted as a death sentence. But one question remains, why assign the power of death to a single look? What was truly being feared? In many cultures, the eyes are linked to the soul. What if the basilisk wasn't a beast, but fear given form? Creature number 5, the Gargoyle. Look up at cathedrals, at ancient rooftops. The gargoyles are there, silent, motionless. Officially, they're decorations, water spouts. But then, why give them such monstrous shapes? Why place them so high, right at the boundary between inside and outside? In some legends, gargoyles aren't statues at all. They're creatures turned to stone, condemned to watch. If you've followed this series, you know guardian entities appear again and again, and the next one is far more aggressive. Creature number 6, Oni. Imagine raw force, rage, given form. In Japanese folklore, Oni are giant demons, violent, uncontrollable. But they aren't always evil. Sometimes they punish. Sometimes they protect. They represent human excess, anger, jealousy, hatred. But then ask yourself, what if Oni aren't external creatures at all? What if they're a way of giving a face to what humans refuse to acknowledge within themselves? This idea appears repeatedly throughout the series, and it leads us to the final creature. Creature number 7, the Sphinx. Imagine a massive silhouette in the desert, motionless for thousands of years. The Sphinx doesn't threaten with strength, it threatens with a question. In myth, those who fail to answer die, not because they are weak, but because they don't understand. The Sphinx is a creature of knowledge, of thresholds. It marks the passage between ignorance and truth. So ask yourself this final question. What if all these creatures exist to test humanity? Not physically, but intellectually. If you're watching this 11th episode, you may have realized something. Mythical creatures don't appear by accident. They always emerge at the edges of the world, of the mind, or of knowledge itself. Each episode reveals another piece of the puzzle, and both the earlier and the upcoming ones help complete its meaning. So tell me, which of these creatures feels the most symbolic to you, and which one do you think could have actually existed?